Hi, my name is Austin McCauley, and our presentation today will be over our efforts to bring COVID vaccinations to the community through Unity Clinic's Vaccine Strike Team. With me today are Tate Atkinson, Kathleen Doyle, Stella Huynh, and Rohan Hylton.
Following the approval of the COVID-19 vaccine for the elderly and immunocompromised, the Unity Clinic team was approached to help lead and staff large-scale community vaccination efforts at OU Children's Hospital. The Unity Clinic team's efforts were very successful and helped vaccinate thousands of Oklahomans across several months. But as we can see on the table on the right from the CDC, demand for the vaccines in Oklahoma waned over time, making these large-scale vaccine clinics less feasible. In this same time period, we also found that demographic groups such as Black, American Indian, and Hispanic Oklahomans were receiving a disproportionately smaller share of vaccines. This was also these same demographic groups were also affected by higher hospitalization rates. Next slide. We adapted our model from these large-scale vaccination efforts at OU Children's to address these issues of health equity and community health. We directed our efforts towards communities with pre-existing health disparities, which were exacerbated by the pandemic. The maps on the right shows the OKC County Health Index, with zip codes in orange having poor outcomes overall. We now know that retrospectively, based on the map and the bottom right, that the COVID-19 hospitalization rates map onto these counties pretty well. So we decided to target our efforts at communities in these areas by partnering with churches, schools, as well as community events to try and change vaccination efforts.
All of our community partnerships began by either identifying organizations we would like to work with or when community partners filled out our vaccine clinic request form. Even if we had prior communication with prospective partners, all of them filled out the request form to give us information that would be vital to evaluate the prospective clinic's viability for our team and our mission, including requested vaccines, estimated number of vaccinations, targeted patient population, and requested clinic dates. We also referred all prospective clinics to OU Health's Vaccine Outreach Committee, Vaccine Committee, and legal team for evaluation. Once these initial steps had been taken, we proceeded to plan a site visit at the requested clinic location. During this visit, we would evaluate the site's suitability for a clinic, plan the layout of the clinic and its workflow, and sign a facility use agreement with our partners allocating specific roles necessary to running the clinic. Finally, depending on the community partners and anticipated patient population's needs, we developed marketing material in conjunction with OU Health's marketing team and a link for patients to sign up for vaccines through OU Health's COVID vaccine schedule app.
To staff our community partnerships, volunteers were initially recruited through campus-wide emails sent to all colleges, with the largest participation from the College of Medicine, Nursing, and Dentistry, and this allowed for all OUHS students to sign up for training. Students first participated in an online course with training modules for COVID that included COVID overview, vaccine training for Moderna, Pfizer, and J&J, also OU Health protocols, and also screening questions. And all this information allowed for volunteers to be knowledgeable about the vaccines and also be able to answer any questions that they might encounter with patients. In-person training also took place at least once a semester at the BSCB lecture halls or at the CSET. Training sessions allowed for students to practice injection techniques by using a model of injecting saline solution into oranges. After completing training, volunteers were recruited through a secondary follow-up email for community clinics, allowing them to step up to roles as wayfinders, greeters, check-in, administration, runners, or data entry. In total, we had 298 volunteers for our community clinics. And lastly, we reached out to faculty and preceptors for supervision during the event.
In order to put on a vaccine clinic, it was imperative that we understood how to properly store, handle, and prepare the vaccines. The clinical leads were trained by staff members, and all clinical volunteers received basic training on drawing techniques during their initial in-person training sessions. Clinical leads then provided further training to a subset of volunteers and provided on-site guidance and supervision. We worked with the community partners to establish the desired type and number of vaccines, considering that they had the best understanding of the community's needs. We would then collaborate with the pharmacy staff to ensure that we would be able to obtain the vaccines and all necessary supplies on time. We would make a formal request and schedule a pickup time. The vaccines need to be transported in coolers in order to keep them at an appropriate temperature for use and to minimize light exposure. This also allowed us to return any unused vials to the pharmacy and have them still be viable for up to 30 days. At the clinic sites, it was essential that we had a clean, designated area for preparing the vaccines. We monitored the flow of patients, that we would pull vaccines only when necessary in order to minimize waste. We prepared the vaccines using proper hand hygiene and aseptic techniques and physically separated the different vaccine types to prevent errors. Vaccinators would verify that the correct vaccine and dose was being administered by referencing the intake form, checking when receiving the vaccines from the pullers, and confirming it verbally with the patient.
A great example of how our process works lies in the COVID vaccine clinics that we held in collaboration with the Latino Community Development Agency. Our initial efforts were focused on bringing vaccines to the 73111 zip code. However, at the beginning of the summer, Unity Clinic was introduced to the LCDA via the Scissortail Community Development Corporation, who suggested our collaboration in order to bring vaccines to Latino patients in southern Oklahoma City. Later in the summer, the LCDA submitted a clinic request through our vaccine request form tool. In the request, they specified things such as their preference for Pfizer and Moderna over J&J, the preference that they wanted 30 vaccines, and specified that they would like these clinics to be held on a recurring basis on the first Thursday of every month. A few days later, a facility walkthrough was scheduled to determine feasibility in the space they provided for us and to hash out the details of clinic flow. It was then decided that the Unity Clinic would be responsible for providing vaccine supplies, admin volunteers for check-in, screening, and data entry, and clinical volunteers for vaccination pulling and monitoring. The LCDA would then be responsible for providing setup of tables and chairs, wayfinding signage, as well as Spanish translators for the event. An example of the marketing used for these clinics is shown on the right of the slide, which was posted to the LCDA Facebook page a couple days before the clinic. After the walkthrough and after the facility use agreement were signed, the strike team sent out volunteer and preceptor recruitment emails to the College of Medicine and Department of Family Medicine, respectively, as well as vaccine requests to the OU pharmacy. And we held our first clinic at the LCDA on August 5th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. As I previously mentioned, the LCDA had requested that the Unity Clinic host clinics on the first Thursday of every month from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And our team quickly realized that the College of Medicine alone would be unable to staff these clinics at that time of the week, at that time of the day, once the summer was ended. So later we learned that the College of Nursing and the College of Public Health had collaborated with the LCDA before for a CDC Foundation grant. This presented an opportunity to expand our unique community partnerships that we built to other colleges on the OUHSC campus. Thus, using our standardized strike team process outlined in this presentation, the operations for LCDA clinics were handed off to the College of Nursing to continue throughout the year.
To summarize, over the course of our operations, our team mobilized approximately 298 volunteers to provide around 940 vaccine doses at 25 community clinics with a range of local organizations. These organizations included local churches, schools, homeless shelters, community centers, and even the OKC Thunder. Our work would have been impossible without help from countless affiliates. In particular, we would like to thank Krista Bellock, who led our team, Sergio Preciado, a fellow member of our team, and Margaret Robinson, who worked tirelessly to coordinate clinics and logistics at every single one of our clinics. This concludes our presentation.